Morning Year 8. Today we're going to look at constructing triangles, and we're going to construct triangles either using, today we're going to look at them using a protractor and a ruler, and tomorrow we're going to look at constructing more triangles, and we'll be using a ruler and a pair of compasses. So the first thing to look at today is what sort of triangles we want to create, and so we're going to look at two basic ones today. The first one we're going to look at is called angle, side, angle. And what we mean by angle, side, angle is if I gave you some information which was as follows. If I gave you an angle, a side, and then another angle, then you would be able to draw a triangle which matches the exact information. It would be a unique triangle. Now it's important to recognise what angle, side, angle isn't. Here you'll notice that I've got an angle, a side, and an angle. The angles and the side are all together. Okay, it goes 1, 2, 3. I haven't got this, for instance. I haven't gone for two angles together. Or two might have to be adjacent to each other in a triangle, and then a side not squashed between those angles. Okay, for angle, side, angle, the side has to be between the two angles you've been given for this to work. Okay, so this not good, this yes, that's good. Okay, so let's have a quick look at an example of how to do this. So here's an example we're going to try. It says construct a triangle ABC so that AC is 5 and it should be centimetres, shouldn't it? I don't think our books are going to take 5 metres. Angle A is 53 degrees and angle C is 74 degrees. Let me just refocus this quickly. Okay, so first thing just to note is it says the angle ABC. What I mean by ABC is that the triangle's got 3 vertices, and I'm going to call each vertex A, B, or C. So when I've written AC here, that means that the length between the vertex A and the vertex C is 5 centimetres. The angle A, so the internal angle of the triangle, the interior angle even, is 53 degrees, and the interior angle at point C is 74 degrees. What I mean by interior is the angle inside the triangle. There's obviously, so if I look here, this is an interior angle here because it's inside the triangle. I could draw an angle which went all the way around here, and this would be known as the exterior angle. I'm only interested in interior angles today. Okay, so let's see if we can do this one. So the way to start with this is, because it's angle, side, angle, and I can tell it's angle, side, angle because angle A would be at vertex A, angle C will be at vertex C, and I know the distance between those two angles. So I'm going to start by drawing a 5 centimetre line, and I'm going to label that AC. There's 5 centimetres there. Make sure you use a ruler and measure this out exactly. It's then good to label the vertices. That's vertex A, that's vertex C, and this side length is 5 centimetres. Once I've done that, I need to do some angles. So I know that angle A, the interior angle at A, is 53 degrees. So I grab my protractor, I make sure that the centre here is right on the vertex A, and this line, the 0 line here, so I now line that up. The centre goes on vertex A and it needs to go right at the end of the line. You can use this line on the protractor to just line it up that way and then drop it down so you know it's right on. Make sure that the 0 lines up with this line here. Basically, if you've got a really thin pencil, this line should look really thin. If it looks quite thick, that's because it's slightly off. That looks quite thick there. That looks a lot smaller there. Make sure the line is lined up all the way along to this last bit here. Okay, so the angle is 53 degrees. So because I'm going anti-clockwise, I use the inner ring, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and then 3 blips more. Takes me to there. Okay, I don't know how long AB is going to be. I don't know where B is. But I do know that this angle here has to be 53 degrees. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a nice straight line up there. Oops, a daisy, let's try again. If I draw a nice straight line up here, through the point from A, and call this 53 degrees. So the angle here is 53 degrees. This line I just make as long as I can for now, because I don't know how long it needs to be. We'll figure out how long it needs to be in one moment. Okay, so that's angle A. I've got that there. Angle A, sorry, side AC. I've got the length of that there. And then I know that angle C needs to be 74 degrees. And this is the moment where I hope I've drawn just enough space. Oof, I don't think I quite have. I'm going to draw this up ever so slightly more. Here's a lesson in making sure your triangles are down a bit further down the page than you think they might need to be. Okay, angle C is 74, so I line the centre of my protractor up again on the end of the line and make sure that the 0 line is arranged correctly. And then I'm going to use the outer ring this time because it's clockwise. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 74 is there. And then I draw a line through that dot and through C until it meets the other line I drew earlier. To there. And I label this point here B, just because these were A and C and I know the triangle is ABC. So I label this 74 degrees. I don't rub off this bit. It's important not to rub this bit off because if this was an exam question and someone said construct this triangle, it's important that you show how your triangle is constructed. If you leave this little bit on here, it's obvious what you did. You obviously that you made this line quite long and then you got this line to meet the line AB. So please make sure you don't rub that off. I know sometimes it's really tempting because it will look like your triangle's nicer. Please don't. It's important that you get your method marks in case you've made a slip up with one of these measurements down here. Okay, so that's how you do an angle side angle triangle, but just before I give you some questions to do, it's a really good idea to just check that you've actually done it correctly. And the way to do that is by making sure that the angles add up to, well, 180 degrees because it's a triangle. These two angles at the bottom, 74 and 53, or 74 plus 53 is equal to 127 degrees, and 180 minus 127 is 53 degrees. So that must mean that this angle at the top should be 53 degrees. So let's line it up and measure it. So I've lined my 0 line up down here. There's my 0 line there, and if I go round, it goes 51, 2. So I got 52 degrees, so mine's not as accurate as it could be, but as long as it's plus or minus 2 degrees from this value here, that should be okay. It's important that you're as accurate as possible. As long as you're within a couple of degrees, that's no problems at all. You'll find if you haven't got a sharp pencil, you'll be out more often. The other thing that people do, and you can see I've done it slightly here, I think I've done it here really well, but here you can see that my line actually starts slightly in from vertex A. I haven't quite started this line on the end of it. So there's just a few tricks there to try and make the things more slightly more accurate, but also how to check whether you've got it right or not. Okay, so just please try a couple of these. So if you go to exercise 12A, can you do question 2A and B, please? Once you've done question 2 and A and B, and you've checked them using this method, or ask someone at home to check them for you and just corroborate that they're true, can you come back to the video and we'll look at the other type of triangle we're going to do today. So the next one we want to look at is side, angle, side. So if I draw a triangle to show what I mean by this, here's a perfectly fine triangle here, then it means that I've got a side, an angle, and another side length here. So again, with this sort of triangle, it's important to recognise what it isn't. It's very important that the angle is between the two sides. So for instance, if I had this instead, if I had an angle and a side like this, this wouldn't be a side angle side triangle. Thank you, Max. It's important for the angle to be between the two sides. So here's an example of how to do a side angle side triangle. It says construct the triangle DEF so that DF is 4, EF is 3, and angle F is 40 degrees. So it's important to think about how this is going to look in the first instance. So we know we've got D to F, we know we've got E to F, and we know the angle F is 40. So let's start constructing this. I generally use the longest side for the base. I don't think for any particular good reason, it's just probably more of a habit. So the base is going to be 4 centimeters, 0 to 4. I'm going to label both ends. Depending on how you like using your protractor, and depending on what the angle is and which vertex is at, depends slightly how you might want to label these. I'm going to label this one D and this one F, and that's because in general I like working off this way when I do angles as opposed to going back this way. If you're left-handed, you might want to do the other way around, for instance, but I like working this way. So if that's F, I know F needs to be 40 degrees, so I'll move that out of the way. So I line it up again, go around to 40 degrees. I'm going anti-clockwise, so I need to use the inner loop. There's 40 degrees there, and I'm going to draw a nice long line from F through that point. Now, I've drawn the line from F. I know what F to D is. F to D, oopsie daisy, I didn't do that one, is 4 centimeters. So point E must be along this line somewhere, and I know that F to E is 3 centimeters. So I'm now going to get my ruler and just mark on the line where E is. So E's got to be here, 3 centimeters along the line. So I'm going to mark that as E. I'm going to write 3 centimeters on this side. I haven't written my angle in yet, I should have done that too. That's 40 degrees. And because I now know where E is, I can link E back to D. And I'm done. I've got my side, angle, and side. It's not so easy to check if these are correct or not. One thing you can do is measure these angles and just check they will add up to 180. But it just requires a bit more work than the previous example. Okay, so what I'd like you guys to do now is go back to exercise 12a. I'd like you to finish off just the core bits of the lesson, which is question 2, C and D. Once you finish those, I can imagine you've probably spent about half an hour on the lesson today. So afterwards it's more practice of this. Question 3 is a really excellent question where you've got to find some angles first, and then you need to decide whether to use side angle side or angle side angle. A bit of advice there is look out for the isosceles triangles. Question 4 is a lovely question which requires you to have a bit more of a thought. It's 2 triangles stuck together. And then if you have any time left, just do question 5 to 6. However, please don't spend any longer than 30 minutes on this altogether, and try and keep yourself to an hour of maths for today. Okay, I hope that's been useful, and I'll I will do the next video ready later today, and it will probably be up first thing in the morning. Have a great day, and I'll speak to you again soon. Bye bye.